Hello, I've got a beautiful selection of quilts to show you. These are Baltimore album quilts that were brought over by the International Quilt Museum in Nebraska, and they were shown at the Festival of Quilts this year. Each of the quilts date from between 1840 and 1850, and they were made in Baltimore in America. As I wandered around the space, I couldn't get over how beautiful and clear and fresh looking the quilts were. They'd obviously been cared for and kept out of sunlight because there was no fading at all. After wandering around for a while, I wandered up close to each of the quilts to see what they were like, and I did notice that they were very textural. There was a lot of raised work. You'd got berries that were very pronounced from the back cloth of the quilt. There were flowers that were padded and then quilted into. And then you'd also got what looked like Suffolk puffs that had been gathered and ruched and pleated and finished off with extra detail of embroidery, which I thought was beautiful. There were definitely themes going through the quilts. So you'd got repeated blocks like cornucopias of flowers and musical instruments like harps. There was also a degree of patriotism throughout the pieces. There were buildings that had flags on top of them, and some quilts had what looked like fortifications. One block even had what looked like rifles. I did like the wildlife that was on the quilts. There were birds in varying forms with different plumage, and some had sprigs of flowers and leaves in their mouths. There were butterflies fluttering around the floral displays, and I even saw a squirrel. Of all the quilts, I think there were one or two pieces that really spoke to me. On one particular quilt, which was a group quilt, it had each of the blocks made by different individuals, and each of the blocks had been signed, and the signature had been done with the tiniest cross stitch. But I think my favourite thing from the whole exhibition was something that wasn't stitch, it wasn't applique, and it wasn't even quilting. It was the final flurry that had been added with ink and a quill. There were stamens on flowers and extra detail added to the foliage. And here and there you could see a little doodle of a motif. There was one block that I didn't actually notice straight away until it was pointed out by the curator. It was right at the very bottom of one of the quilts, and you had to get on your hands and knees to see it. It was a block of a sailing ship with the most beautiful yellow sails, and when you got up close to have a look at it, you could see that the sailors were standing on the deck and they'd been drawn in ink, and the rigging and the ropes on the sails had been done with ink. And then a closer look of the anchor, you could see that the chain, that had been doodled with ink as well. I was at the Festival of Quilts for all 4 days this year, and each day I popped in to see the exhibition and had a word with the curator. On one particular day she shared a story with me all about the museum archive, which numbers in the thousands of quilts. She explained that part of the museum has an area that is dedicated to the conservation of the quilts, and this involves the quilts being taken off the shelves, unfolded, inspected, refolded and put away again, and this happens once a year for each of the quilts. This work is mainly done by volunteers, and some of the volunteers have never seen these quilts before, so when they're opened and placed on the tables, you can hear this noise that comes from the room of ooh, ah, ooh, isn't it lovely? And it takes generally a bit longer than the 5 minutes that you would take to do a job like this. It can take a little bit longer. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you like what you've seen and you'd like to see some more textile videos, please do have a look at my playlists. There's also a playlist called Meet the Artist, and that's interviews with various textile artists who chat and talk about their textile interests. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've liked this video, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching.